Joined now by former Vancouver Canucks TSN hockey analyst, Mr. Frank Corrado. And Frank, there will be a lot of hits this year because you played for Tocchet, where we're going to ask you to interpret Tocchet for us. Last night, I'm not sure we don't needs any interpretation.
No,
what did you make of the game? What did you make of the game? What did you make of the effort? What did you make of the coach's comments thereafter?
I appreciate that upfront honesty. And, it's quite fitting that it happens in Philadelphia where Torts is on the other side of the bench. And every time they pan the camera over to Torts, he just looked so calm. Like, it looked like Torts was just, out for like a walk in the park with his dogs. Meanwhile, there's a hockey game going on. And I guess his team made him feel that way because, let's be honest, Philly had a very good game. They're not a very good team, but they controlled the whole game. They peppered Demko. They were the ones getting to the middle of the ice. They were the ones causing Vancouver to turn the puck over. And for the Canucks side of thing, it was just like, it was a very different vibe from the first two games playing that game against Philly. And I thought Tocchet summed it up pretty well. The compete thing is one thing. Like, you can say that for a lot of games. It's not just, and a lot of different teams. Anytime a team loses, you're losing a lot of the battles. Let's be honest, okay? So he points that out, and I don't think the team is soft. And I know he says he doesn't want to call them soft, and I don't think they're soft. But I thought he summed it up well when he said, when we should have passed the puck, we shot the puck. When we should have shot the puck, it was just like one of those things where everything that could have gone wrong as far as the play on the ice, it seemed like it did. I'm watching. For me, when Tocchet says, I don't think any of our guys had a good game other than Demko. Okay, Demko had a really good game. I still watch Quinn Hughes and some of the stuff he's doing on the blue line, and I'm still blown away. Even in a game like that, even in a poor performance, the way he, there was one sequence, it was in the first period or the third period. I think it was the third. He kind of spins off a guy at the blue line, stops, gets a little opportunity. And then there's another one where him and Hronek are kind of crisscrossing. And I'm like, Quinn Hughes did so much work here with his feet to open up a lane, but he felt like he had to get the puck back to Quinn Hughes. Puck gets turned over. They go down the ice. I felt like that was a little microcosm of what was the Canucks game last night, whether it was trying to do too much or not trying to do enough. It was just a night where things weren't working. And I don't know. I like the honesty from Rick Tocchet.
What did you make of the penalty shot call? What did you make of the goaltender interference disallowed goal?
The goalie interference one, I do agree with that one. I think Garland pushes the goaltender's pad into the net. I don't have an issue with that. I think it was Grady. I think it was Grady who pulled up an old video of Byfuglien. Was it Grady that did that? He pulled up a video of Byfuglien pushing Luongo's pad.
It was wide aren't. Yeah, it was wide aren't from. But
it was wide.
Has the rule changed since then? That was my first question when I watched it. Like, or have they now said you're not allowed to push the goalie?
I think that's a thing now. Like, I think if you start pushing the pad into the net, like, it's a no-no. The things have definitely changed since then. The penalty shot one, I disagree with 100%.
So do I.
I think there's no way that should be a penalty shot.
Like, because he wasn't clearly away, because he wasn't alone. A clear chance, even after the slash.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. You still have an opportunity at the net. Listen, I'm all for penalty shots and making the game exciting, and people love the theater of it. But let's warrant a penalty shot. With, like, Pettersson, I believe it was Pettersson, his stick breaks. Couturier still gets the opportunity at the net, and we're awarding a penalty shot. If anything, it's a 2-minute slash, and away you go. So I didn't agree with that. And, I guess if there's one positive you want to take away from that entire game, Demko plays well. But the whole night, you take away the penalty shot, they're still one shot away from really being in that game. As despite, as not unflattering of a game it was for the Canucks, they're still hanging around and they're still relevant in that game. So I think, through 3 games so far for this team, I would say it's a positive step in the right direction compared to the stuff we were seeing or talking about last year.
Well, goaltending keeps you in almost every game, right? If you get that sort of goaltending, you're always going to be within an arm's reach of the lead. And guys, they've they've had this trend for years now of getting the shot away and still giving you the penalty shot. That has been a trendy,
Yeah, you're right.
a thing for a long time. I just thought they were, he wasn't like meters ahead of everybody either. So, talk about Tyler Myers. We gave him the benefit of the doubt to start this year that, hey, he's overpaid for sure. But, if he was a $3 million player, you'd happily have him on your third pair.
Yeah.
Boy, not last night's Tyler Myers. I don't know that that's a National Hockey League defenseman last night.
It was tough to differentiate between some of the guys on the blue line last night with the way they were handling the puck and some of the big mistakes that we saw. Like the first one that comes to mind for me is Myers somehow gets twisted up. He's on the ice with Susie. So they get twisted up and Myers is now on his backhand. And admittedly, like maybe if you want, Noodles always calls himself a goalie hugger. I'll be a little bit of a defenseman hugger here. He doesn't have a ton of help here as far as like outlet options, but that's one of those ones where you just live to fight another day. And it's that mentality, not knowing when to do that and not knowing when not to do that. Like that's the thing that kind of separates the guys who at the end of the night, you talk about a defenseman and you say, I didn't notice him tonight. I think it was pretty good. I think he was steady. But when you notice someone because he throws a backhand pizza up the middle for an opportunity, you're like, man, that was ugly. And there was another one where he goes back for a puck. And keep in mind, he's a massive human. Like he's huge. And he's doing something that I would try and do as a 6'1" guy. It's where I'm trying to like protect the puck from the forechecker who's come in and brace for the impact. And I'm watching him do this. And I'm like, does he not know he's like 6'7"? He should be going in there gobbling that thing up. Instead it kind of gets along the wall, and it was a little bit of a mess that way. But yeah, like I don't know. It's one of those things. You're right with the contract. Maybe if he's a $3 million guy, you don't have him under such of a magnifying glass. But the mistakes are still glaring. At $6 million or $3 million, you're still going to see the backhand pass up the middle of the ice. I don't know what would change there other than what you do on the ice.
Does a stalwart top four right shot defenseman put all the pieces into the better places? Like, is that what they are? Are they one defenseman away from just looking better all around on the back end, or is it deeper than that?
No, I would say like one defenseman would help this team a lot, but one defenseman would help a lot of teams a lot.
That's probably true.
It's not just the Canucks. Yeah. So, you have to look at what the market is here as far as who's available to you. So maybe you're just going to roll the dice with an internal, solution because the price of someone else and the asset you're going to have to give up. I know they made a trade. We're going to get into that. But what I'm saying is it's like, I'm watching other teams around the league and I'm like, yeah, they could use a right-hand shot in the top four as well. And, I watched Chicago play the other night. Chicago was playing in Toronto. I was in the building watching Bedard. And I'm watching Seth Jones and I'm watching Connor Murphy. Because those are two guys, right shot defensemen. Seth Jones, like he takes a lot of heat, especially from like the analytical community. I see that a lot. But I was really impressed with Connor Murphy. Like he disrupted a lot of stuff. And Sheldon Keefe was saying after the game how the first line turned the puck over like crazy and it kind of fed into things. I guess my point is like there's a guy on a bad team there who's a right shot defenseman with 2 years left after this year at like $4.4 million. And there's a number of teams around the league where that guy would help solve a lot of problems. But how are you going to get that guy?
Yeah.
You're not like, you just can't get those kinds of players. It's very, very difficult to get a guy like that.
And you can't take on more cap space either. You don't
no,
have that luxury.
Wow, so. Not many teams have that either.
No.
In fact, there were, as of earlier this week, there were 14 teams, nearly half the league, who couldn't even call up a player, didn't even have the cap space for the minimum salary. Frank, I want to ask you about Connor Garland. Because, as we know, his agent is out there seeking a trade. And on that first goal, I mean, he's got a chance to quote unquote eat a puck, as Rick Tocchet would say, get in front of that shooting lane and make things a little easier for his goaltender. He flies by and the puck goes in the zone, puck goes in the net. When a guy has a trade request out there, are guys looking around and wondering, okay, is he going to bleed for this team? Should management be looking around and going, okay, Is he going to bleed for this team? Is he going to play Tocchet style hockey, knowing full well that he would prefer to be somewhere else?
See, I don't think the team that he's on is looking at it that way. I think the teams that are watching him are looking at it thinking, all right, your name's out there. You want to trade. You should be playing very desperate, very urgent kind of hockey because there's pro scouts on assignment now coming in to watch you play specifically. So the isolated camera is on you all night. And that's something that'll get amplified where a team or a pro scout went and watched and he's like, well, okay, where's he going to fit in our lineup? Is he going to be a second line guy? Is he going to be a third line guy? Regardless, there's certain non-negotiables, right? And getting in the shot lane and blocking a shot, that happens to be a non-negotiable. So if a team looks at it and they see that play, they're like, all right, we giving up an asset, we taking on salary, we kind of know what we're getting here. Because they were playing Philly and Torts was involved, I feel like I got to tell you a little Torts story.
Oh,
so we were in video. We were in video the one day, and of course, someone didn't block a shot, and they did the old flamingo. And Torts pauses the video, and he goes, can't tell you who the player was, but he goes, tell me this is a flamingo. Just say it. I want to hear it. And the player, of course, obliged and said, yes, it's a flamingo. Thank you. That's all I wanted to know. Next clip. That was it. Sorry if you can hear my dog barking.
Even the dog was upset. Flamingo. Not on the Corrado dog.
In the background. That was
no,
Torts.
Corrado's dog is on watch. Flamingo. Okay, Frank, on to the trade the Canucks made yesterday, and lo and behold, it's with the Pittsburgh Penguins. I want your take on Friedman because you played against him and how much he can help, and then we'll discuss Wrathbone.
Yeah, so playing against this guy, interesting guy for sure, very vocal on the ice, very sure of himself as a player. He's done well, so he's in the NHL. He's grinded his way through. As far as his fit on the Canucks, it's pretty obvious to see how a right shot defenseman can help just bolster things a little bit. Like if we're going to be candid, I think Noah Juulsen at times has looked out of his depth at the NHL level. So it makes sense to bring in someone. He plays I would say a little more of a scrappier kind of game. There's enough puck moving ability. I know he's played on the left side a little bit. Like he would get paired with that Chad Ruedel on the very rare two right shot defenseman pairing for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So, to sum it up, it's a guy who plays a scrappy kind of game, not shy to get involved, any kind of extracurriculars or altercations, stuff like that, and probably gives you a little bit of just a little more assurance on the ice than you're getting from Noah Juulsen right now.
Which is, it's odd to hear you say that he's like a confident guy. He's
a nasty bit of business, isn't he, Frank?
I've
heard he
barely
I
played
against him in the minors. I played against him in the minors, and he was, very vocal about how good he is and how not good everyone else is on the ice.
He's 27. He's got 80 games in the NHL.
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know what his shtick is at the NHL level, but I know in the AHL, I'd be going back to the bench and I'd be like, what is this guy saying? What is going on over there? I think at one point I said to one of the guys on my bench, I'm like, they must get tired of that every game over there. They got to get tired of it. But credit to him because he's playing in the NHL and I'm talking hockey.
Yeah, well, I mean, at one point, though, he's playing second pair, Wilkes-Barre. He's acting like he's Bobby Orr.
Yeah.
Wrathbone, it obviously wasn't going to happen here. 3 different coaching staffs basically didn't have use for Jack Wrathbone. What do you think of the opportunity that awaits him in Pittsburgh?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. This Jack Wrathbone guy, all the tools are there. They really are. He is a great skater. I love his ability with the puck. Just from noticing certain things about players, there's one thing that really sticks out to me. I was one of those guys. I had this spaghetti kind of wet noodle arm stick thing. Okay. And when I first got to the Chicago Wolves, Craig McTavish made it very evident to me that I had the wet noodle going. And he told me, he goes, go look at Brad Hunt, because Brad Hunt was on the team at the time. He goes, watch Huntsy. He goes, it's like he's a serpent with that thing. It's like a quick motion. Okay. It's like a fast twitch. He goes, watch how he does it. I said, okay, that's a good point. Wrathbone, when he handles the puck, it's like he has that fast twitch on everything he does. When he passes the puck, when he shoots the puck, everything's got that fast twitch. He doesn't have the wet spaghetti noodle. But with that in mind, when I see some of the decision making that he would make, it's like you're trying to work a little too fast. I would like to see you just like slow things down a little bit. You'll probably make some better plays at like 80% speed, let's call it. So now, as far as going to Pittsburgh and the opportunity that awaits him, the thing he'll have to keep in mind is be the player that got you to this level, but don't lose sight of the fact that you do still need to get better at certain things. If there's been 3 coaching staffs that have kind of passed you over, like they're all seeing something here, right? So you're going to have to keep in mind that there's going to be things that the Penguins want you to do, and there's certain things that got you to this point.
I have some parallels between you and Wrathbone, because I think that you were a victim of having a lot of guys look at you, a lot of administrations, a lot of teams, and it sort of reminds, Wrathbone reminds me of you, that you just, in the right situation, it might have been a different story here for Jack Wrathbone.
Honestly, sometimes it just takes one coach, really. And, like for me, I felt like AV, like from the time I was 18 to the time he left the organization, I felt like I had built a really good foundation with him. And the thing is, a new coach comes in, like he wants to lead with the trump card. You know what I mean? It's who's been around, who's experienced. I'm new here. We got to get off to a great start. And, you're starting to kind of nurture that relationship again from the beginning. Another coach again, same idea, right? Like, hey, I just got here, got to make a great first impression, got to keep my job, all that kind of stuff. So time, like there's always time for a player to find their way to the NHL. Like I look at Justin Hall, a guy who started in the East Coast League, worked his way up to the AHL, and now he's making $3.5 million or just under that with the Detroit Red Wings. So there is still time. But that kind of, that formation of the relationships wouldn't be going his way. But now he's coming into a new organization with Pittsburgh where he's the new guy and the GM brought you in, and we're going to have to see that through, because GM brings you in, going to give you an opportunity, probably going to start with the minors, and you can try and work your way up, but they're always going to try and justify bringing you into the organization. So he'll have that going for him here.
Great stuff, Frank. You have a fabulous week. We'll catch up next Wednesday.
Thanks. I got to go talk to my dog here.
Please do.
It's happy hour on Sekeres and Price. Today's beer of the day from Neighborhood Brewing, the Lifelong Light Lager.